As promised, let's bring in Arkansas Republican Senator Tom Cotton. He serves on both the Intelligence and Armed Services Committees. Good evening, Senator. Thanks for being on.
Good evening, Bret.
You heard Jennifer Griffin's piece about these challenges around the world that seem to be growing, facing President Biden. Russia on Ukraine's border, China buzzing Taiwan, and Iran enriching uranium. Of those, what's most pressing in your mind, and how is the Biden administration dealing with it?
Well, I think Joe Biden is showing weakness around the globe, and our adversaries are probing and pressing. I mean, China is the biggest threat we face in the world right now, Bret. It's not just a security threat, but an economic threat as well. What they've done in terms of kind of probing Taiwan's airspace is, in my opinion, trying to set the stage one day for potential invasion and annexation of Taiwan, which would be a catastrophe for American interests. But you see with Russia that Joe Biden, go ahead, Bret.
Well, just on Taiwan, what is our policy as a country? They had this write-up in South China Morning Post where it says, while it does not want to provoke Beijing or encourage Taiwan to declare independence, a move that could lead to military conflict, the U.S. has not stated whether it would send troops to defend Taiwan in the event of an attack by mainland China, creating extra uncertainty for Beijing when weighing the risks of an invasion. There has been a debate in the U.S. over whether Washington should end the ambiguity to send a clear warning to Beijing. What is our policy and what should it be?
Bret, we should end the ambiguity. We should be perfectly clear to the Chinese communists. We will defend Taiwan if China tries to invade and forcibly annex it. It's true that for many decades we've had a policy of what's known as strategic ambiguity, not showing our hand either to Beijing or to Taiwan's leaders. But things have changed. The People's Liberation Army is now capable of executing an invasion of Taiwan. So the only thing really restraining Xi Jinping, China's leader, is what the United States will do. Likewise, Taiwan has completed the transition from military government to being a vibrant democracy. We should stand by the only democracy on Chinese soil, and we should make it clear that we will come to Taiwan's aid. That's not going to provoke a conflict, Bret. That is specifically designed to deter a conflict.
And on China, you were one of the first to send up a flare about the possible lab in Wuhan being possibly the source of COVID-19. Josh Rogan wrote a book about China. He was on with Brian Kilmeade's radio show today. Take a listen.
I don't know why the media seems so uninterested in solving this pandemic. I can't figure that out. It boggles my mind, okay? My working theory is that they don't want to admit that they were wrong.
Is that your theory too? And do you know any more about what you talked about at the beginning?
Well, our friends in the blue media, Bret, don't like to admit error very often, but even the Biden administration is now citing the possibility of an accidental leak from those labs in Wuhan as one of the two possible theories of the origin here. To me, all the evidence still points to that. We may never know because the Chinese Communist Party probably destroyed the physical evidence. Maybe one day we'll have a defector or a whistleblower to tell us the truth. But we do know that China's refusal to cooperate in the early days of this pandemic, to share information, to allow an international team of scientists into Wuhan, made it that much worse. That's why China must be made to pay for what they've done to the world in so many other ways, just like they have to pay for what they've done to our economy and our factories and our workers over the last 30 years.
We'll have you back to talk about Russia and Iran. Those things are not going away, and they seem pretty urgent now. I do want to ask you about a domestic issue as this case now goes to the jury in Minnesota. You have a Democratic Congresswoman on the ground there, Maxine Waters. What about the fallout from that?
Well, Bret, I don't want to prejudge the case now that it's with the jury, but I will say it's appalling to see a senior Democrat in Congress going out of her way to Minnesota to fan the flames in the streets. And it's incumbent upon the local leaders in Minnesota, the governor, and if necessary, Joe Biden, to ensure that there is no rioting or mob violence, whatever the jury decides in this case, because there is no grievance, there is no perceived injustice that is a fit object for mob violence.
Senator Tom Cotton, live on Capitol Hill. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Bret.